We have been doing nothing but playing Halo Infinite's multiplayer since it dropped, and in that time we've been perfecting our grapple shots, blue sticks, and power weapon domination. So in this video, we'll be taking you through a huge list of tips and tricks to store up your sleeve that will help you dominate the arena, regardless if you're checking out the iconic Xbox shooter for the first time or you're a bona fide veteran. Now Bex, can you tell everyone how to slip around the map like an otter?
A key trick which Halo Infinite's beta players have already been showing off is the run, slide, jump maneuver. This really is just what it says on the tin. You sprint forward, duck down into a slide, and then immediately spring up into the air. It's a nifty way to travel quickly across the map, plus the constantly shifting verticality of it all is sure to mess with your enemy's aim. Once you've got the move down, it gives you a way to rapidly push forward or fall back, while keeping your enemy guessing about where you're going. It's especially effective on a downward slope, so you should make a note of which maps contain good sliding opportunities. The likes of Launch Site and Aquarius are full of little ramps which are perfect for this combo.
Look, while this might be old news to any established first-person shooter fan, those getting to grips with the genre should learn to keep their crosshairs centered as they move around the map. I know it sounds simple, but making sure your sight stays central as you wander the map and even trying to preempt your enemy's movements before they come into view can give you a sort of split-second advantage, which makes all the difference in Halo. This will also help you rip off those all-important headshots. That hefty Spartan armor takes some cracking unless you aim for the dome, so you'll need to train yourself to focus to fire up top if you want to take down enemies efficiently. However, look, the same doesn't go for shields, and some people don't know this. Every weapon does the same amount of shield damage, regardless of whether you hit the torso or the forehead. There's less need for precision here. The key is to move between the body and the head like a pro boxer, wearing the shields down with a flurry of center mass shots until you see a crackle of red lightning from their armor, indicating the shield is about to break. Then you can finish off the job with a nice clean headshot once the shield is broken. Still, it's easy to empty your entire magazine before you finish taking them down. In this situation, it's actually quicker swapping to your secondary weapon rather than reloading your current one. So make sure that your backup gun is something you'll happily rely on. The MK50 sidekick or a good old-fashioned battle rifle are always good for draining the last bits of an enemy's health bar. Of course, in ranked matches you'll start out with no sidearm whatsoever, so just making sure that you have any secondary weapon can be a real lifesaver.
Each Halo Infinite map has its own quirks and characteristics which you'll need to learn to exploit if you want to play them effectively. Aquarius is mostly made up of small rooms and tight corridors, meaning that you should be prepared to get up close and personal with the enemy. On the other hand, Behemoth's open desert areas are perfect for picking players off from a distance, especially if you use the launch pads to fling yourself up onto the east or west tower. Get to know a complex multi-path map like Bazaar or Launch Site and you'll be able to effectively outmaneuver your opponent, sneaking up behind them or teaming up for pincer moments. On streets, you'll both spawn at either ends of the map, with the power weapon in the middle. So be prepared to grenade your way to control of the center and watch out for the enemy pulling the same trick. Trapping the opposition inside the building near the pizza shop is ideal, as this gives you time to nab the power weapon prize while they're occupied. Wherever you're fighting, getting to know the placement of things like weapon racks, power weapons, and vehicles is vital to make sure you can grab them before the enemy does. You can also hit the D-pad's down button to activate your AI scanner, which will highlight similar points of interest in your vicinity, even those that are behind walls. Another great way to get your bearings is to spend a little time playing around on a map while fighting against bots. This sort of map knowledge will also make the game's radar way more useful, helping you to effectively judge whether that incoming enemy blip is actually above you or below you. Also keep in mind that the radar will only show enemies who are firing, sprinting, or walking at full speed. So moving quickly while crouching is a great way to get around the map undetected.
Halo Infinite offers a whole bunch of really granular settings options that allow you to customize your experience. You can adjust the field of view to help you see more of your surroundings, potentially giving you a big advantage. However, pushing it to high can lead to a drop in frame rate, so we would recommend something in the range of 90 to 100 for Xbox One users, while Series X and S players can feel free to blast it all the way up to the 110, 120 region, depending on your preference. And naturally, PC gamers will need to make a call based on how powerful their setup is. Thankfully, the game's pretty well optimized. You can also alter the opacity of your HUD and aiming reticle, providing you with a nice uncluttered screen and a clear sight of where your shots are going to land. Again, lots of that is preference. And finally, having your sensitivity settings tailored just right is an absolute must. While there are a lot of specific sliders to play with, basically a lower level of sensitivity will offer you more accuracy but make it harder to pull off those flick, reflex shots quite as rapidly. Putting your look sensitivity to 3 should keep things under control while you aim, while still allowing you to whip around the camera and deal with a sudden attack. Optic Call of Duty Pro's formal 505 settings is where you tune both the axial and center dead zones up to 5 and take the max input threshold on your move stick down to 0. Also brought Dr. Disrespect his very first overkill medal when he used them, so there might be something in that.
Naturally, there are a ton of different firearms available in Halo Infinite, all with their own strengths and weaknesses, and you really don't want to leave it until you're staring down a rampaging warthog to figure them out. So head over to the academy and spend some time on the shooting range. You'll find that the default starting weapon, the trusty MA40 AR, is a solid mid-range option, while the Pulse Carbine can handle those longer shots a little more efficiently. And getting a little fancier now, the Shock Rifle is not only great for temporarily disabling vehicles, but its staticky shots will also deal electrical damage to anyone nearby. The aptly named Mangler is basically a pistol-sized shotgun that is ideal for those close quarters action. And you can usually take out an enemy with just a single shot and a melee swipe from its nasty bladed edge. The Heatwave can fire a wave of pellets in either a horizontal or vertical line, allowing you to hit multiple enemies or really lay into one unlucky soul. Now moving on to the big boys, the Sentinel Beam's boiling death ray allows you to line up multiple targets and fire straight through them, while the Skewer is a truly deadly sniper rocket launcher hybrid, although you will have to work around its slow reloading. While the Ravager lets you lay down patches of plasma, ideal if you're looking to choke off a corridor or control a certain portion of the map, perfect for claustrophobic maps like Aquarius. Most of all, it's important that you get really familiar with the bread and butter weapons, like the battle rifle and the MA40, since you're going to be spending so much time with them. Also, feel free to shout out your best training Jill scores down in the comments and we'll check them out. In any Halo game though, you need to be ready to fight with whatever comes to hand, so make sure you're a crack shot with everything in the game's arsenal.
Whether you're capturing a flag, then riding off in a Warthog, or laying siege to an enemy zone using a Scorpion tank, vehicles can totally shift the balance in any kind of Halo match. That's why it helps to learn where to find them on each map, as we covered earlier, but you should also listen out for vehicle drops. The machines that get dropped off by a Pelican are often unavailable anywhere else, making them a real trump card for whoever snags them. But if you are beaten to the punch, lightning weapons like the Disruptor and the Shock Rifle can shut a vehicle down in a flash, while the M41 Spanker is great for reducing it to a pile of smouldering parts, a personal favourite.
While vehicles will feel like old hat to Halo veterans, the introduction of equipment will give them plenty of new tricks to learn. Most importantly, the overshield now needs to be manually activated, so make sure you've got it up and running if you don't want some sneaky foe to knock you off and wander away with it. The grapple shot contains all sorts of creative possibilities. It's great for scoping out new sniping spots or for making a quick escape if the enemy has you pinned down. But it can also be used to grab power weapons, flags and equipment from afar. Ideal if you want to grab that overshield before your opponent. You can even use it to launch yourself towards an enemy vehicle and hijack it in a single, incredibly satisfying motion. The repulsor is similarly multifunctional. While it's great for deflecting enemy grenades, it can also be used to send vehicles flying or to launch you into a superpowered jump that's sure to catch the enemy by surprise. Wait around a corner and then use the repulsor jump to fly over your enemy and land with a melee, and then you can take them out with an awesome ninja kill. If you're hunkered down behind a drop wall, a particularly smart next move would be to destroy one section of it yourself so that you have a space to shoot through. And if you find yourself on the wrong side of one, just aim a shot towards the metal device itself and watch the whole thing crumble.
Learning how to properly utilise each grenade type is also super important. Frag grenades don't do massive damage but are great for bouncing around corners or bombarding your enemies with, like to push them back. And plasmas are smaller in range but much deadlier, and they'll stick to any target you hit, making them ideal for taking out vehicles. Spike grenades ricochet around like crazy, so you'll want to chuck them into enclosed spaces, and dynamos deal electrical damage to a whole area over time, perfect for clearing out a specific part of the map. It's basically a good idea just to spend loads of time chucking grenades so you can get a feel for the trajectory and behaviour of each one. get really good, and you can even use them to bounce abandoned power weapons towards you from afar, both a time saver and an incredibly cool way to collect a gravity hammer.
Working together really does get the job done in all of Halo Infinite's team-based multiplayer modes. You can even hold down the weapon swap button to drop your current gun so that your friend can pick it up. Communication is also key. If you're using voice chat, you should pay attention to the area names that pop up in the bottom left corner of the screen as you move around the map. That way you can make more useful callouts than, "He's over there." But even if you're staying micless, the mark system is a great way to highlight weapon racks, vehicles, and other useful info for your teammates. Find a good vantage point and you could even spend some time calling out enemy positions. Might not lead to you racking up as many kills, but it will do wonders for your team as a whole. And that's a really vital thing. Whatever mode you're on, play the objective. It's tempting to just tear off on your own and go blast people, but you won't stand a chance as a team unless you're all pulling in the same direction. That goes for straight up firefights too. Unlike some other shooters, you will almost never win a 2 versus 1 scenario in Halo unless you're rocking a power weapon or some other big advantage. So it's usually better to fall back and regroup when you're outnumbered rather than rushing towards every potential kill.
How you go about completing those objectives is really important too. For example, if your enemy has captured 2 zones in total control and is moving on to the 3rd, it's not necessarily the best strategy to rush over and defend it. You actually only have to be in the process of capturing a zone to prevent them from claiming a point. So just setting foot on either of the other zones can be enough to stop them.
If you're playing capture the flag or stockpile, moving things around quickly and or quietly is always the goal. The best way to do this is with vehicles. You can't drive and carry at the same time, but you can hop in the passenger seat and have a buddy give you a ride while you hang on to that precious flag. Better yet, if you stand on top of a ghost or a wasp while it's moving, you can ride across the map without even showing up on the radar. If it's power seeds you're after, the best bet is to cram them into a Razorback. With 2 crammed into the back bumper and passengers carrying another 2 seeds, you can transport 4 of the 5 seeds you need to score a point at the same time. In either case, always remember that you can throw and drop the stuff you're carrying at any moment. This means you can ditch the cargo and peel off a few shots before continuing. And it also leads to a clever trick where you can juggle the flag across the map by continually tossing and picking it back up. If you master this move, you can transport that precious payload across the map all the quicker, leading the charge to a faster victory.
That should be enough to get you started on your Halo Infinite journey, but obviously it's not a patch on all the other clever techniques and crazy tricks we're going to discover as the battle rages on. Frankly, we can't wait. So let us know any tips down in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell for more videos about all of Xbox's biggest titles. Bye bye.